Why pointless hobbies quietly save people from burnout. There's something strangely powerful about doing something that doesn't matter. In a world that's obsessed with productivity, optimization, and visible outcomes, the idea of spending time on a pointless hobby seems almost rebellious. Why would someone spend hours painting tiny models they'll never sell, or writing poetry they'll never publish, or building a bonsai garden in the corner of a one-bedroom apartment? At first glance, these things seem inefficient, even irrational. But if you look closer philosophically, psychologically, you'll start to see something profound. These so-called pointless hobbies are often the very things that keep people from burning out. They are not distractions from life. They are salvations within it. Let's start with a deep truth that's easy to forget. Not everything that matters can be measured. We're living in an age where the only things that seem to count are the things that can be turned into data profits, followers, likes, deadlines, progress. We've industrialized almost every aspect of life. Even rest has become something to optimize. We track our sleep. We measure our meditation. We turn walks into step counts. Every activity becomes a means to an end. But here's the problem. The soul doesn't work like that. The human spirit doesn't thrive on metrics. It thrives on meaning. And if you remove meaning from your daily life, if every act becomes a transaction, a strategy, a hustle, you will eventually burn out. Not from exhaustion, but from emptiness.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
This is where hobbies come in, the kind that don't earn you money, don't build your resume, don't make you famous. The kind that seem on the surface like a waste of time. But ask yourself, what if these wastes of time are actually the most sacred use of time? What if painting with no plan, or playing music with no audience, or gardening with no harvest is actually a way of reclaiming your humanity in a world that keeps trying to turn you into a machine? Because here's what happens when you engage in a pointless hobby. You exit the economy of productivity. You step out of the constant loop of proving your worth. You enter a space where you don't have to be good, you just have to be. And that's radical. That's healing. That's freedom. In that space, you're no longer an employee, a parent, a student, a performer. You're just a person connecting with something for the sheer joy of it. And that joy, that presence, is what resets your nervous system. It's what reminds you that you are not defined by what you produce. The philosopher Alan Watts once said, "The meaning of life is just to be alive." It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. That panic of always needing to be on, always needing to advance, creates a psychological pressure that we're not designed to withstand endlessly. It's like trying to sprint through a marathon. Eventually, your body or your mind will collapse. But when we allow ourselves to do something pointless, we slow down. We reconnect with the present. And ironically, that's where the real point lies. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something just because it made you feel alive, not because it was useful, or impressive, or even logical? If it's been a while, you're not alone. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that every action must justify itself. But a flower doesn't justify its bloom. A songbird doesn't explain its melody. So why should we? There's a deeper layer here too. When you engage in a pointless hobby, you start to rewire your relationship to failure. Because in this space, failure doesn't exist. There's no audience to impress, no algorithm to beat. It's just you and the process and whatever happens in between. That's not just relaxing, it's transformative. It teaches you that your worth is not tied to your output. That beauty can exist without utility. That joy can come from the simplest acts of creation. And psychologically, this is essential. Because burnout isn't just physical fatigue, it's existential fatigue. It comes from the belief that your life is no longer your own, that every moment is owned by someone else's expectations. Pointless hobbies are how we take that ownership back. Quietly, consistently, without asking permission. So maybe the question isn't why people waste time on hobbies that don't matter. Maybe the real question is, how have we come to believe that only things with outcomes are worth doing? That's the deeper sickness. That's the illusion we must wake up from. The sacred uselessness. How doing something that doesn't matter can save your soul. There's a kind of sacredness in uselessness that we've forgotten. Not the kind of uselessness that comes from apathy or avoidance, but the kind that emerges when we do something without needing it to become something else. When we draw just to draw. When we dance not for the performance, but for the movement itself. When we sit with a book, not to gain knowledge, but to simply inhabit another world. These acts, small as they seem, contain a secret medicine because they allow us to step out of the hyper-industrialized rhythm of life and rediscover the quiet hum of our own spirit. Let's be honest, we've been conditioned to chase usefulness like it's the only currency that matters. From the moment we're children, we're asked, "What are you going to do with that?" As if the only reason to learn, explore, or create is to monetize or weaponize it later. You want to learn an instrument? Great, how will you get paid for it? You're interested in philosophy? Fine, but what job will that get you? We've trained ourselves to treat every pursuit as a step on a ladder. But what if some things aren't ladders at all? What if they're sanctuaries? Here's the paradox. The more you try to justify your passions with outcomes, the more those passions shrink. The moment your hobby becomes a side hustle, the pressure changes it. The joy becomes anxiety. The play becomes performance. And slowly, the thing that once gave you life becomes another task on your to-do list. That's the tragedy of our age. We don't know how to do things just for the sake of doing them. We've forgotten how to be without becoming. But there's another way. And it begins with reclaiming the useless. It begins with saying, yes, this might not earn me anything, but it returns me to myself. That's not laziness. That's spiritual maintenance. That's psychological hygiene. When you do something pointless, you're not wasting time, you're watering your soul. And in a world slowly dying of dehydration, that is one of the most radical acts you can commit. Think of it like this. Imagine a tree that only grew taller, but never took time to root deeper. Eventually, it topples. That's what happens to us when we live only for achievement. We rise, we accelerate, we impress, but we don't ground. And when the winds of life come, and they always do, we break. Pointless hobbies are root work. They don't show up on resumes, but they anchor you in something real. Something that doesn't shift with trends or timelines. Let me ask you a question you probably haven't been asked in years. What would you do if no one was watching and you didn't need to get anything out of it? That question reveals something essential. It peels back the noise. It gets you closer to your essence. Because pointless hobbies are not really pointless. They're private acts of liberation. They remind you that you are more than your output, more than your goals, more than your image. And maybe that's the real reason they save people from burnout. Because burnout isn't just about doing too much. It's about doing too much of the wrong things, too much that disconnects you from your aliveness. Hobbies reconnect you. They remind you that life isn't just a series of tasks to complete, but a canvas to play on. That your time doesn't always need to be spent, sometimes it can just be lived. You see, we keep searching for meaning in big, dramatic places. We want the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect breakthrough. But meaning is often hiding in the smallest things. In the way you lose track of time when you paint. In the way a melody moves through your fingers. In the way your garden grows quietly without anyone needing to see it. These moments are sacred not because they're useful, but because they're alive. They remind us that we're not machines. We're not brands. We're not algorithms. We're human beings. And we need space to be gloriously, beautifully useless sometimes. The philosophy of unseen joy. Why your most meaningful moments will never be measurable. There's a quiet kind of joy that slips into your life when no one's watching. It's not loud. It doesn't come with applause or credit. It doesn't trend, and it can't be posted. It happens in the margins of your life when you're humming while washing dishes, or getting lost in the rhythm of knitting, or laughing at something only you would find funny. These are the moments that never make it into highlight reels, but they're the ones that make life worth living. And yet, because they can't be measured, we often ignore them. We chase dopamine hits and data numbers, achievements, validations, while the deepest kind of fulfillment often comes from things that leave no trace. Let's be honest, we've built a world where the invisible is constantly devalued. If it can't be tracked, sold, or scaled, we assume it doesn't matter. But here's the strange irony. Some of the most burnout-resistant people aren't the ones with the best time management systems or the highest productivity scores. They're the ones who've learned how to protect their invisible joy. They've got hobbies no one knows about, rituals no one understands, and they don't need to justify them because they've discovered a truth that's philosophical and practical. Not everything valuable can be seen. This is where philosophy and real life collide. Thinkers like Epicurus, for example, believed that pleasure wasn't found in indulgence but in simplicity. In a quiet life with good friends, honest conversation, and time to reflect. And yet we've taken the word pleasure and distorted it into something flashy and excessive. But there's a deeper pleasure, a cleaner kind that lives in the unnoticed. In the act of doing something just for you with no audience and no outcome. It's not selfish, it's self-anchoring. So why do pointless hobbies save people from burnout? Because they restore the private realm of the self. In a world that constantly demands your attention, your opinions, your performance, your availability, these hobbies are a rebellion. They say, this part of me doesn't need to be monetized. This joy doesn't need to be shared. This moment is mine, and that privacy is powerful. It's a space where you don't have to be anything but you, and that is where your spirit recovers. That is where your identity becomes whole again. Here's a question worth sitting with. What if your most meaningful moments are the ones you'll never be able to explain? What if purpose isn't something you find through grand gestures or perfect plans, but something that emerges gently, like light through a window, when you're lost in the flow of something beautifully unimportant? That's the paradox of joy. It often arrives when you're not trying to find it. It sneaks up on you while you're whittling wood, or doodling in a notebook, or building a model spaceship for no reason at all. And that's where the deeper psychological insight comes in. Burnout is often the result of a fractured self. A self that's been stretched too thin, split between roles, drained by expectations. But pointless hobbies reintegrate you. They give you back something you didn't even realize you were missing, an unobserved life. And it's in that unobserved space that true healing begins. Because when you're not being watched, you stop performing. And when you stop performing, you can finally hear your own voice again. We've been told that purpose has to be big, loud, and externally validated. But maybe that's a lie. Maybe the deepest kind of purpose is found in the smallest acts of presence, in the joy of doing something no one else understands but you, in the quiet satisfaction of tending to a world that exists only because you decided it should. That's not wasted effort. That's sacred creation. So maybe the next time someone asks why you're spending time on something that doesn't matter, you can smile and say, because it keeps me whole. And maybe, just maybe, that's the truest answer of all. The final escape. How pointless play is the last refuge of the soul in a system that always wants more. There comes a point in modern life where you start to feel like you're being swallowed by it. The meetings, the deadlines, the perpetual notifications, the pressure to be relevant, productive, responsive. It never ends. And beneath it all is a subtle, almost invisible question that the system keeps whispering. Are you doing enough? Are you becoming more? And if you're not careful, if you never pause to question the premise, you start to believe that your worth is directly proportional to your output, that your existence only matters if it can be tracked, improved, and optimized. But here's the brutal philosophical truth. A system that always wants more will never be satisfied. Not with your success, not with your passion, not with your time. No matter how much you give, it will ask for more. And that constant hunger, when left unchallenged, devours you. Not all at once, but slowly, by convincing you that rest is laziness, that fun is indulgence, and that your soul is only as valuable as its productivity. And that is why pointless play, hobbies, passions, rituals with no practical value is not just important. It is the last refuge of the soul. You see, play is not a luxury of childhood. It is a necessity of consciousness. When we play, we return to a state that predates pressure. We become explorers again. We interact with the world not because we should, but because we can. When you sit down to draw a terrible sketch, or learn a song you'll never perform, or build a Lego city just to watch it stand, what you're really doing is reminding yourself that you are more than the role you play in the economy. You are a being, not a brand. You are here to experience, not only to achieve. The philosopher Johann Huizinga once argued that play is older than culture. Before we built civilizations, we played. Before we wrote laws, we laughed. And in that laughter, in that dance, in that meaningless joy, there was something sacred, something eternal. But now we've buried play under layers of guilt and obligation. We've turned it into something you have to earn. But what if that's backwards? What if play is what allows you to survive the rest of life? What if it's not the reward, but the foundation? Let me ask you something that might feel uncomfortable. When did you last feel free? Not just off the clock, but free mentally, emotionally, spiritually free. If you're like most people, that question stings, because freedom is no longer something we live. It's something we schedule. But the body doesn't recognize freedom in calendars. It recognizes it in flow, in play. In the timeless state where you forget your name, your goals, your fears, and simply exist. That's what pointless hobbies offer. A portal, a door out of the algorithm. A momentary escape from being a function in someone else's machine. And make no mistake, this isn't about quitting your job or dropping out of society. It's about reclaiming the parts of you that society forgot to value. The parts that laugh, that tinker, that wander. That wonder. The parts that don't ask, what will this get me? But instead ask, what will this give me back? Because in the end, what saves us from burnout isn't just rest. It's reconnection to joy, to slowness, to the absurd, to the unproductive. It's the realization that maybe, just maybe, you don't exist to be efficient. You exist to be whole. And wholeness isn't built in boardrooms or spreadsheets. It's built in those strange, beautiful places where no one is watching and nothing is expected. In the garden, in the melody, in the sketchbook, in the woods, in the silence. So if you're feeling hollow or exhausted, maybe the answer isn't to push harder. Maybe it's to play. Not to escape reality, but to remember what it feels like to be alive in it. To remember that you are not a machine. You are not a project. You are not a brand. You are a soul and a body, and sometimes the most important thing you can do is something utterly, gloriously, unapologetically pointless. Because in that pointless moment, you find something priceless, yourself. And maybe, just maybe, that's how we save ourselves. Quietly, one useless joy at a time.